Hello YouTube, we all juggle knives here. Alright, the topic of this video is going to be showing a system of cutlery that will cover all your bases. Alright, now first of all, I've covered this topic before, but I'm going to try to do it faster, and I'm also going to try to keep all of these below $50. Alright, the average price of all of these below $50 for everyone on a tight budget. Alright, but first I have to go over what do I mean by a system of blades to cover all your bases. Well, basically, I mean around the house, alright, around town, out in the wilderness if that becomes for recreation or if it becomes necessary for some reason, and in a disaster situation. Anything from, basically situations that would require a military response. Looting, collapse, rioting in your city, things such as that. So that's what I mean by cover all your bases. All those situations from day to day to the end of days. All right, let's go through these categories real fast. Basically, I'm suggesting a small, a medium, and a large fixed blade, a medium and a large folder, some sort of chopping tool, right, and a machete. Now, I basically believe if you have something that's decent in all of these categories, like I said, it will cover all those situations. Now, before we get into the selections, let's talk about the order of importance of these different categories. All right, now this is going to vary depending on who you are. Okay, for example, if you're a soldier in the field, your full-size combat knife will probably be pretty important. All right, but for everybody else, just regular homeowners with a family, etc., this is going to be the order that I think that these are useful in and what they're useful for. First of all, I would start with the small fixed blade because I don't know anybody that can't use a good, sharp, small fixed blade in the kitchen, the garage, around your house, around your yard. There's nobody that can't use a good small fixed blade, so I would start there. Next, I would go for the chopper. This is an Estwing rig builder's hatchet. It's basically just a 2-inch longer version of their carpenter's hatchet. And that's pretty much why I would say it's the second most important, because just for everyday usefulness around your house, around your backyard, you can build things with this, you can demolish things with this, emergency defense. So it's a very useful tool. Okay, so number one, number two. Okay, so those two, very useful even just around the house, but what do you do when you can't necessarily carry more? What do you do when you're around town? Well, that's where the medium-sized folding knife comes in, an everyday carry knife. So this would be number three, I think, for me and for most people. All right, now, the order of the others isn't that important. If you're in a more rural setting or you're going camping a lot, then probably the mid-sized fixed blade, because this is about the size of most camping knives. On the other hand, more urban setting, this is what's a tactical folder basically. It's a backup to a firearm. All right, so that might be important depending on where you live. The machete, pretty much very useful as just a backyard tool, right? And also just if you're out in the wilderness, whether camping or whatever. Right? And the least important for most people, like I said, probably the most important for soldiers, but the least important for most other people would be the full-sized fixed blade. When would a civilian be using this? Probably really only if you are out in the wilderness or, like I said, in the event of rioting, bad disasters where basically you're going full paramilitary mode because there's no more law and order except for what you can impose. Okay, so that's where all of these 7 fit in. Now let's get into the individual budget options. So let's work our way through these. This is the Marttiini Timberjack. Now I use the Marttiini 571, that orange knife you always see in my videos, but that's discontinued, so I can't keep showing a knife that you guys can't buy. So this is the newer model Marttiini Timberjack. It's about $15. This would be great for the small fixed blade. Let me give you 2 more options though. This Schrade Model 14, which I've shown before. This is more, it's both heavier and more heavily built than this. So if you want something that's just can take more punishment, you could go with the Schrade 14. And here is, this knife is sold by Mossberg, all right, and it's one of the many incarnations of the traditional American sharp finger. This blade shape is called the sharp finger, all right, and this was $14. All right, so you might want to go old school traditional with a sharp finger type design. All right, now this, which I would recommend, is the EDC. This is a Buck Vantage Select. It's Buck's 428C steel, $32. Now I do prefer the Buck Vantage Pro, which is S30V, but that's a little bit above our price range here. So for this price range, the Vantage Select at $32, I think it would be an excellent everyday cutting tool. All right, and if you want an option, let's say you don't like that for some reason, Kershaw Nerve, I've recommended it before, but it's still a great little knife for, I don't know how much these go for now, not very much, probably around 20. All right, so 2 options for the budget everyday carry. All right, and for the tactical folder, Cold Steel Recon 1, this goes for $60 at the moment. All right, so I went $10 over, but remember, this was only $14. Okay, so we still have a lot of leeway for it to average out. But if you really need something cheaper, there's many options, but here's one of them. All right, this CRKT Casper Crawford knife, very cheap, but it's because the steel is not so good on this, but for our purposes, it would suffice if you're on a really tight budget. I think this goes for 20 or less. All right, so this is the extreme budget option. But again, I wouldn't recommend skimping too much in this category. This category, because it's backing up your firearm, really, if you're gonna skimp in all the others, but not this one. So this is the minimum quality I'd go for, the $60 Recon 1. Okay, in the medium-sized fixed blade category, all right, you see the name of the knife, well, I don't know if you can see, but it's the SCHF1SM. All right, it's a Schrade knife. I've shown this whole line of Schrade knives. If you remember the review, the handle texture was too abrasive, so I've gone ahead and wrapped this with some Wilson grip. It provides an excellent grip, as more comfortable. You see this is a bit beat up from the testing, but this would make an ideal mid-size fixed blade. It is tough. It's an integral design. Right now, I always recommend the Ontario Pilot Survival Knife for this category. However, I've shown that in so many videos that I'm trying to show you stuff that you might not have seen before. So the Ontario Pilot Survival Knife would be great too, but also consider this Schrade. In the full-size military or paramilitary fighting knife category, also usable as a camp knife. All right, this is the SP43, right, by Ontario. It's 5160 high carbon steel. Now, me personally, in this category, I actually use 3 different K-bar knives, but they're all, again, they're above our $50 mark. So if you forced me to choose something that was cheaper, I would either choose this. This goes for $60 now, a little above. Or this one, the SP6, this goes for exactly 50, so it's right in there. And you know, this one has a little bit more weapon potential. This one's a little bit more multi-purpose. I'd prefer this one, but I'm gonna give you two options. And in that full-size category, I know people are going to say, why didn't you recommend just a regular USMCK bar? I think most of my subscribers that are into fixed blades already own a USMCK bar, so I'm trying to show you things that you might not necessarily know that are out there. But yes, a USMCK bar would be a great choice for that category. Alright, and the Estwing Rig Builder's Hatchet. Great tool. I use it around the house all the time. I use both the chopping part and the hammer part. Very useful tool. Also could serve as an emergency weapon, no doubt. This thing hits hard. If you're not into the hatchet thing, you want something more like a tomahawk, Estwing also makes this, which I've reviewed, the Esswein Hawk. Now the difference is, this is a lot faster, but it doesn't hit quite as hard because, as you can see, the head is much smaller. I would prefer the hatchet, but you know, pick your poison. These are around 40. And last we have the machete. Alright, this is the Condor Outback Bolo machete, 20-inch blade length. I've done a review of this. Now, there are shorter machetes out there, but I figure, you know, you already have the 8-inch knife, so it might as well give you more reach. And there are heavier machetes, but you already have this as your heavy chopper, right? So this will be your light chopper with a lot of reach. And this goes for right around 50. Some options in the machete category. Well, for 25, you can get the cold steel barong. If you're more worried about the weapon capability, then you want this because of, well, you see the tip on that. And one more option would be this Kershaw Camp 14. If you, for some reason, you prefer a shorter machete, all right, you see how much shorter that is. I think these are less than 40 now. All right, so a good medium weight and medium length machete option there. All right, so there you go. That is the system, and that is examples of 7 blades that could do it on a budget. All right, these are basically, if you add all these up, you know, if all of these are 50, which some of them are less, but it would be $350. But again, you could choose the cheaper options and cut that in half if you needed to. But you need to think of it this way. For $350, how much is your handgun? You know what I mean? Like, most people's handgun, especially if you count the number of rounds they've put through it, they're already way past $350. So for the cost of just one of your guns, you could have all your blade options totally squared away, cover 99% of the situations, and you know, that's a bargain. That's practical. And yeah, I mean, you could technically probably squeak by with just a pocket knife, right? But I'm not talking about squeaking by. I'm talking about, you know, thriving and getting by in the manner in which you're accustomed, which hopefully is having the right tools for the job. And I know somebody's going to be like, what about a multi-tool? You know, a multi-tool is a tool, right? And I know blades are a tool, but the knife on a multi-tool is only a very small part of what it does. So to me, that's a whole separate category. But yes, of course, I do have a multi-tool. Well, all right. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helped out any preppers out there, people on a tight budget, or even if you're not a prepper, just someone who wants to have blades for different situations without necessarily becoming a collector. All right, this has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.